Alright guys, so today we're in the kitchen because I'm going to do a tutorial on how to make coffee to fertilize your Nepenthes. Now I think coffee is only to fertilize Nepenthes, no other carnivorous plants. What you need to do is you need to buy coffee. It has to be 100% coffee. It can't be anything from like a packet where you just mix it with water and it's instant coffee. That doesn't work. It has to be like pure coffee beans. And you should grind them up or purchase pre-ground ones. And I think Starbucks offers some free grounds to people, leftover grounds, but I personally wouldn't do that because it's kind of awkward. So what I did is I mixed, you're going to need to figure out how much water you need based on how big your collection is. I used at least 10 cups, but today I'm only making 8 cups. I'm starting with a dark roast. Last time I used this dark roast, this is the second time I've used it, but the last time I used it, it basically like burnt all the sphagnum. The Nepenthes were fine, but the sphagnum was not. Last time I mixed about 10 tablespoons for 10 cups. Now I'm just making 5 tablespoons for 8 cups, but this is a dark roast. When I did a medium roast, or maybe it was a light roast, I forget, I did much more. So I think it may depend on how dark the roast is. So just experiment and go accordingly, but don't do too much if you don't have to. Just start off with like a little, mixing it in, and then go for a lot. So just, I don't have a coffee maker, so I'm just going to boil it. And I get it to a boil, and then I turn the temperature down to let it just simmer. I'm just going to turn it from a high to a 2. And then once we are done making the coffee, we will ice it. Not with actual ice, we'll just put it in some cold water to cool it off. That way it won't burn your plants. So the exact coffee that I'm using is Safeway Select Costa Rica Terrazoo Dark Roast Coffee. I don't know what any of that means because I don't like coffee. But I feel like you get more when you buy the prepackaged stuff, because the first time I bought it, I maybe got a bag that was filled up to there for $5, and this one's also $5, so you know, you get more. And you don't have to go through the work of grinding it and everything yourself. So this process could probably also be done with other plants, just not other carnivorous plants other than Nepenthes, as long as the plant doesn't mind the extra nutrients. But it's not mainly the nutrients that helps the plant, it's how the coffee lowers the pH of the soil, makes it more acidic, which is good for Nepenthes. So if other tropical plants like lower acidity, you could probably assume that they would enjoy having coffee. And you may not see results immediately. It may take 2 or 3 or 4 even treatments to get the results you want, but you should start seeing bigger leaves and faster growth. So that's why coffee is a good fertilizer. It's been about 20 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and pull the coffee off of the hot eye. Let's turn the temperature off first. And we can just let that sit there and cool, or we have the option to remove it and put it in a glass that won't melt, a large glass, and set it in a basin of cool water. Or you could stick it in the refrigerator, but you may want to wait until it cools down first, because if your refrigerator has plastic shelves, it might melt them. That happened to me, but yeah. Okay, so we are going to strain it through a paper towel into a pitcher once it's cooled off a little. This is to get all of the little coffee grinds out, because you don't want those going into your plants. Now I'm going to fill a basin with water, with cool water, and then on top of that I'm going to add ice into it to keep it even cooler. That way it cools the coffee down almost instantly. So now that we have our basin of iced water, we are going to place the coffee into it. This is just one of the methods that you can use to cool off the coffee. So we're going to let that sit for 5 or 10 minutes to cool off completely. So now we're out in the greenhouse after it's finished cooling, and we are going to water the plants with coffee now. So what I do is I take a measuring cup like this. It doesn't have to be a certain size, just dip the coffee out and bring it to the desired plant to water. So in this case, my Jacquelinia. And you just pour it on around the roots, wherever you think the roots may be. And it doesn't hurt the sphagnum on the pots, and it's actually pretty good for the sphagnum. As you can see, it's running down there into the sphagnum cultures that I have. So now we're going to repeat this process for all of my Nepenthes. But remember, you can't do this with just any carnivorous plant. It's only Nepenthes, I believe, because the rest of them, it may harm them. And I was told that you shouldn't do it before the Nepenthes is really settled in and growing fine, but I don't see any harm in doing it with Nepenthes that have not settled in, like new Nepenthes, basically. So, I'm just gonna do it for basically everyone until I run out. So I've managed to fertilize all of my Nepenthes pots with coffee, and we're not done yet. We're going to wait about 1 to 2 days. I'm going to try 1 day because last time with this coffee, it burned the sphagnum in the pots. You are going to flush the pots with distilled water, just like a regular watering, but you'll use a bit more water. For a pot maybe this size, a 4-inch pot, you may use 1.5 or 2 cups. But for a pot this size, you would probably, like, that's a 6 or 8-inch pot, so you'd probably use quite a few cups to flush that pot. But you just want to make sure you get all the excess nutrients out, that way it doesn't burn the Nepenthes roots. They use up everything that they're going to use after about 2 days, but the acidity will still stay in the pot after you flush it. Well, most of it will, at least. After you flush it, you're going to wait maybe 2 to 4 weeks. When I started using coffee, I waited about 2 weeks and then did it again. And you're just going to keep repeating it. And you'll see growth maybe after, well, I can't remember quite when I saw growth. It maybe about they put out 1 leaf, and the next leaf was bigger. And they're going to continue to make bigger leaves for a while, and then it will just kind of level off. So now we are going to flush the pot. We have our distilled water here, so we're just going to pour it through the pot all over until water pours out the bottom, like so. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If so, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. And have fun with your grow space smelling like coffee for a few days. See you next time.